Senator Ted Cruz. He wants to be our president. Senator, you're very welcome. How are you, sir?
Simon, I'm doing terrific. It's great to be with you.
Good to have you. Man, there is so much going on. Let's start with Planned Parenthood. A seventh video came out today. This time they're harvesting the brain of a live baby. It's hard. It really is hard to know how even to respond to that statement. Never in my life did I think I would say those words unless we were talking about a very criminal regime in power. And yet we've got an attorney general who isn't even investigating. How on earth do we deal with this? Apart from the obvious. Please don't tell me the obvious. I know we need to defund them. I know we need to shut them down. How do we deal with it?
Simon, you are exactly right. These videos are horrific, and each video is worse than the one who preceded it. It is very much my hope that every person in America watches these videos, even if they happen to be personally pro-choice, or maybe especially if they're pro-choice.
Mm-hmm.
They should watch these videos to see senior Planned Parenthood officials laughing, sipping wine, and casually bartering and selling the body parts of unborn children. And just ask yourself, are these my values? This latest video today, where you see them describing a child that has been born, whose heart is still beating, and yet nonetheless the doctor cuts the child's face open to harvest the brain, because from their perspective this is a profit-making endeavor. This is all about selling body parts. It is horrific. And it's my hope. I thank God these videos were made, because they are so powerful that it is my hope that this changes hearts and minds across this country.
Well, I can lift you up just a little bit, Senator. I can tell you that we've had more than one phone call to this show. One lady in particular who said, self-described pro-choice lady, so horrified by what she had seen, and actually she said on my show on the air, from this moment on you can call me pro-life. I also had a rally at the state capitol here in Iowa at the weekend. Absolutely. I also had a rally in Iowa on Saturday, and I know you tried to get there, and I know you were unable to, but you did send someone to speak on your behalf. We put 1,500 people on the Capitol grounds. We got everybody to talk, and there was an atheist pro-life person, pro-choice person rather, in that crowd as well. These videos are really important, and everybody who watches them, no matter where they stand on the major life issue, is horrified. That's why I'm completely with you. Everybody needs to see these things.
Well, and you mentioned something very, very important, which is, sadly, under President Obama, the Department of Justice has become so partisan and lawless that nobody believes there will even be an investigation. These videos show senior officials admitting on tape to a pattern of multiple felonies. Selling the body parts of unborn children for a profit carries a 10-year prison sentence. And it's one of the reasons, Simon, why I have announced that if I'm elected president, on the very first day in office, I will instruct the Department of Justice to open an investigation into Planned Parenthood and to prosecute any and all criminal conduct by that organization and by its officials.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we got to move on to a bunch of other stuff. We do have you to the top of the hour, which is great, but we do have to do that. Please look at those videos. You can find them on my Facebook. You can find them on my blog. You can find them elsewhere. It's very, very important that you look at them. You are back in the state this week. You're holding a big rally on Friday. Tell us about that.
It'll be Friday, August 21st. This Friday.
Yep.
It's at 6:30 p.m. at the Iowa Event Center. And you can RSVP at our website, which is tedcruz.org, tedcruz.org. And it is a rally for religious liberty. And we have a number of heroes from across the country who have been persecuted for standing for their faith. Now, At the rally will be Dick and Betty Odegaard, Iowa's own, a wonderful couple who I've gotten to know quite well, who, as you know, they own an historic Lutheran church. And for years they hosted weddings in this church. And they had a business, and they provide catering, and they provide the flowers. And then a couple of years ago, two men came and wanted to have a same-sex wedding in their church, and the Odegaards are devout men, and they very respectfully told them that they couldn't host a gay wedding in their church. That was contrary to their faith, and they immediately faced litigation. They were dragged through protracted litigation. They ended up paying a $5,000 settlement and promising never again to host a wedding in that historic church. And sadly, they've had to go out of business, to lay off their employees. They've been driven out of work because they stood by the biblical teaching of marriage as the union of one man and one woman. And we have patriots like the Odegaards who have stood by their faith and been persecuted for it from all across the country, coming to Iowa for our Rally for Religious Liberty. I hope folks come out. We are expecting a lot of people coming and standing together on the very first liberty protected in the First Amendment of the Bill of Rights, which is foundational to every other liberty we've got.
Okay, that is the rally this coming Friday, and you can find more information at tedcruz.org. So there's the commercial over, and I don't blame you for doing it, and I don't have a problem with you doing it either, Senator. We know each other very well, and I know this stuff comes from your heart, and that's why I really don't mind you doing that on this show. Let's move on to some other things.
And let me mention a quick thing, Simon,
sure,
that actually ties these two topics together. Mm-hmm. The human mind and the human heart work based on stories. It's one of the reasons Jesus spoke in parables, because that's how people are persuaded, how we're touched. What makes these Planned Parenthood videos so powerful mm-hmm. is they're real and they're stories, and it's not just an argument of logic, but it goes straight to the heart. And it's very much what we're trying to do with the Religious Liberty Rally this Friday night, is tell the stories. Have it very much be about these individuals. The media dismisses it. Oh, there are no threats to religious liberty. And to listen to the stories of these heroes who are standing up,
sure,
and simply following their faith. And I think that's how we have the greatest impact, moving the hearts and minds.
The media is also ignoring the Planned Parenthood story. I mean, Cecil the Lion, that gets done, but Planned Parenthood and harvesting dead babies, and sometimes apparently not dead babies, it doesn't get any coverage. It is bizarre. Let me ask you this, because I think part of the problem is we have a partisan Attorney General, and I'm not talking about the current incumbent in particular, or even the previous incumbent. If you become president and you walk into the White House in January 2017, you will always last 150 days and all that of the presidency, but that person too will be a partisan Attorney General. Now I might say, well, at least that guy or that girl is going to do the right thing in terms of how I see the world, but there'll be a whole bunch of Democrats, as they did with Gonzalez, who say, oh no, he's just a partisan hack. Isn't it time we just took the partisanship out of that office and made it genuinely independent of the presidency?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't believe it is. You are right that the Attorney General in every cabinet appointment is appointed by a president who is elected in a partisan election. Mm-hmm. But there has been a long tradition, centuries back, of attorneys general of both parties who stay above party politics. Mm-hmm. The Department of Justice should be blind to party or ideology.
Agreed.
It should be driven by fidelity to the Constitution and the laws of the United States. And we've seen over and over again, if you have a president who appoints an attorney general who is a man or woman of integrity, a person who will follow the Constitution. So, for example, when there was credible evidence that Richard Nixon had violated the law, mm-hmm. his attorney general, Elliot Richardson, appointed a special prosecutor, Archibald Cox, to investigate the matter regardless of politics or party allegiance. Likewise, when there was credible evidence that Bill Clinton had violated the law, his Attorney General, Janet Reno, a Democrat, appointed Robert Fisk as an independent counsel. Now, that's in both instances, a Republican and Democrat stood up to the president who appointed them. That's how it's supposed to work. And sadly, with Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch, that is not how it's worked under the Obama Justice Department. It is, for all intents and purposes, the Department of Justice is treated as an arm of the Democratic National Committee, so much so that rather than prosecuting voter fraud, the Department of Justice is attacking and litigating against states that are attempting to stop voter fraud. And we've got the Federal Department of Justice trying to effectively facilitate voter fraud to undermine the integrity of elections.
So you believe, if you became president, that you could find an attorney general that would stand up to you? Would that be a question that you would ask when looking for a nominee? Would that be, in the privacy of your office? Would you say to somebody that you were thinking of nominating for attorney general, will you be prepared to stand up to me if that became necessary? Is that a question you'd ask?
Absolutely. Absolutely, it is a question I would ask, and it was absolutely a question that I asked of Loretta Lynch during her confirmation hearing. That it is required.
That didn't end too well. If you become president, let's hope second time round it works better. We're in the middle of a conversation with Senator Ted Cruz. We're going to pause briefly, one quick final time out, and then we will conclude this conversation straight ahead. News Radio 1040 WHO. We're in the middle of a conversation with Senator Ted Cruz. He wants to be our president. He's back in the state this coming weekend, actually on Friday, just a couple of days from now, and he's holding a big religious liberty, religious freedom rally. And if you want more information on that, tedcruz.org is where you're going to find it. Okay, Senator, let's talk Iran a little bit, shall we? So apparently they're going to inspect their own sites. They're going to take their own soil samples. They're going to get 24 days notice that we want to have a look at something. And in addition to that, if you read paragraph 36 on page 19 of the main agreement, they have a 30-day walk clause anyway. This isn't an agreement. What is it?
It is a political document that is designed because the Obama White House wants a political legacy. In terms of national security, either for the United States or for our allies, including especially the nation of Israel, this Obama nuclear deal is nothing short of catastrophic. If this deal goes through, there will be three principal consequences. First, if the deal goes through, the Obama administration will quite literally become the world's leading financier of radical Islamic terrorism. Billions of dollars will flow from Iran directly to Hamas, to Hezbollah, to the Houthis, to jihadists across the globe who will use our billions to murder Americans, to murder Israelis, to murder Europeans. Secondly, if this deal goes through, this deal leaves 4 American hostages to languish in Iran, including Pastor Saeed Abedini, an American citizen.
Quick word on that. His wife is on my show on Friday.
Well, and I know Name well. She is fantastic. Okay. She is speaking up for Pastor Saeed. He's been sentenced to 8 years for preaching the gospel. And the third consequence, the most dangerous consequence, is this deal will only accelerate Iran's acquiring nuclear weapons. You pointed out some of the more ludicrous aspects of it, which is we're trusting the Iranians to inspect themselves. It's not going to be American inspectors. It's not going to be international inspectors. To be honest, it's not a heck of a lot better than if you simply called up the Ayatollah and said, okay, so are you guys making nukes? No? Okay, thanks. I mean, it is designed to be a complete farce. The 14-day advance notice, it's a very interesting thing to ask any defender of this deal, to give anything resembling a rational justification for 14 days advance notice before an inspection that actually can be extended to 24.
Yep. It really is. I mean, the equivalent here is we got a prison, let's say, and we allow the inmates to toss their own cells looking for drugs. It is that stupid, and yet somehow or other we're being asked to buy it. I've got some people, not on the phone, they texted us. I asked them to text, because I said we'd be tight on time. So I want to get to some of their questions. So here you go. From Waterloo, Iowa, please ask the Senator to explain the separation of powers. In other words, he wants to know if Supreme Court opinions can be ignored or overruled.
Well, this question obviously has come into the forefront just recently with the Supreme Court's marriage decision, which is a naked act of judicial activism. It is fundamentally illegitimate. It is the justices attempting to force their policy views and their policy preferences on the 300 million people in this nation's history, and it is fundamentally wrong. Under the separation of powers, courts and the federal courts in particular have the authority to decide cases and controversies between litigants. They do not have the authority to make the law. And what the court is attempting to do is to legislate, as Justice Scalia said powerfully in dissent, that this is 5 unelected lawyers declaring themselves the rulers of 300 million Americans, and it is fundamentally inconsistent with democracy.
So let's get to the question. Can their opinions be ignored or overruled?
Well, they can be both, but the consequence of ignoring a judicial opinion is that a public official is likely to be sued, and if the public official is sued, the subsequent court will no doubt order the public official to comply with that opinion. And if the public official doesn't, that public official risks being incarcerated for contempt of court.
So it is de facto law. However uncomfortable it is for it to be that way, it's essentially law.
The courts will treat it as binding precedent, even though it is fundamentally illegitimate. Other courts will consider themselves bound.
Someone else wants to ask me your view on term limits. I actually think it doesn't matter, but I want everybody to know that I've read it, because ultimately Congress has to vote for it, and turkeys will never vote for Thanksgiving, in my opinion. Someone also says, I'm a health insurance agent who, like most others, have gone from a comfortable income to a struggling one. Do you have specific plans for healthcare? Now, before you weigh into that, I got to tell you, I got about 60 seconds, Senator. I'm happy to have you back, and we can go into your detailed healthcare proposals then. Is that a deal?
I'm happy to come back and go into detailed healthcare proposals, because I have lots to say on that.
Absolutely.
I'll say quickly on term limits. I am passionately in favor of it, and there is one instance in which we might be able to get it through Congress, which is if the American people rise up and demand it in sufficient numbers. And if term limits are written so that the current generation of politicians are excluded. Now, I don't want to do that, but I'm trying to find the one circumstances in which the turkeys might vote to at least bring Thanksgiving to the next guy, not to themselves.
Very good
and you
point.
Grandfather in one generation.
Yep.
I am fighting hard for term limits.
Absolutely. I know you are.
Washington is fundamentally corrupt.
I know you are. Senator Ted Cruz, you can hear my closing music. I am out of time. It is always a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much for taking the time. Look forward to spending yet more time with you in a not too distant future. In the meantime, sir, thank you very much.
Thank you, Simon. God bless, and TedCruz.org for our rally on Friday.
There you go. TedCruz.org. Thanks, Ted.